A warm welcome to you all. Students, we know that the Industrial Revolution started in England in the mid-18th century. Well, what is an industrial revolution? Yes, in short, we can say that the production of all goods and services were taken over by machines. Students, in our today's lesson, namely weavers, iron smelters and factory owners, we are going to study about how this industrial revolution affected our country, India. Yes, in our previous classes, we have seen that the British East India Company was buying textiles from India and was exporting them to England. But after the Industrial Revolution, the entire scenario changed. Britishers made India as their market to sell their industrial products. Earlier, the Indian textiles were in great demand in Southeast Asia and West and Central Asia. From the 16th century, European trading companies began buying Indian textiles for sale in Europe. They first came in contact with fine cotton cloth of India in Mosul in present-day Iraq. So, Europeans began to refer all finely woven textiles or cloth as muslin. So students, could you please tell me, how did the Indian textiles get its name muslin? Yes, it was because European companies came into contact with fine cotton cloth of India in Mosul, that is, in present-day Iraq. From this place name Mosul, the Indian textiles got its name as muslin. So also, when the Portuguese first came to India in search of spices, they landed in Calicut. Thus, the cotton cloth which they carried back to Europe along with the spices came to be called calico. And in course of time, calico became the general name for all cotton textiles of India. By the early 19th century, the Indian textiles became so famous in the European market that the wool and silk makers in England began protesting against the import of Indian cotton textiles. In 1720, the British government passed one act known as the Calico Act. According to this act, the use of cotton textiles was banned in England. So dear students, did you see how the European wool and silk makers were protected by their government by passing this particular Calico Act? This shows that the Indian textiles were in great demand in the European markets. Rich people of England including the Queen herself, wore clothes of Indian fabric. During this time, textile industries had just begun to develop in England. This industry was finding it difficult to compete with the Indian textiles. This led to the search for technological innovation in England. In 1764, the spinning jenny was invented by John Kay, and the steam engine too was invented by Richard Arkwright. These two inventions brought revolution in cotton textile weaving. This industrial revolution in England had its effect on the Indian textiles. For example, Indian textiles had to compete with the British industrial textiles. Exporting textiles to England became difficult because the heavy export duties which were imposed by the Britishers. More and more industrial cotton cloth started flooding in the Indian markets. Thus, the Indian textiles producers had to suffer a lot. Having no option left, these Indian textile weavers had to stop their traditional weaving business and were forced to take up agriculture as the only source of their livelihood. The first cotton mill in India was set up as a spinning mill in Bombay in 1854. By 1900, over 84 mills started operating in Bombay. Many of these were established by Parsi and Gujarati businessmen who had made their money through trade with China. As a result, thousands of poor peasants, artisans, and agricultural laborers moved to the cities to work in these mills. Students, now let us see who were the Indian weavers. There were different communities of weavers who were specialized in weaving. For example, Tanti weavers of Bengal, the Jullas of North India, Saleh and Kaikolar and Devangs of South India. Due to the Industrial Revolution, the lives of all these weaving communities were disturbed. Since more and more industrial textiles from England started pouring into the Indian markets, these Indian weavers had to go on hungry stomach. So dear students, in our today's class, in a nutshell, we have seen how the Industrial Revolution in England affected the Indian textiles. See you then in the next class. Till then, goodbye.